Person that I imagine is probably also excited about the World Series, because I'm going to take a wild guess and assume he may very well be a St. Louis Cardinals fan, is my guest today, educator Arthur Lieber, who is concerned about the loss of education creativity in the classroom and its effects on students. Now, Lieber is a progressive Democrat, and he mounted an unsuccessful run for Missouri's 2nd Congressional District. And I guess that what he believes is that it's past time to stop treating education as a commodity and realize it's part art and it's part science. Art, thanks a lot for coming on the radio today.
Jim, thank you very much, and you're right again about me being a Cardinal fan, and I'm glad that many in your family are as well. And I have to say, this whole experience has been very humbling. You know, at the end of August, we were all whining, groaning about the Cardinals, and this is Tony La Russa, and he drives the team to the bottom of the barrel by the end of the year. Boy, were we wrong. And, I think it's healthy because it makes you recognize that, there are times when you think you've got a corner on wisdom and you don't.
Well, come on now. It's the mighty Cardinals. They're coming right back, aren't they?
Oh, I think they are odds on right now, yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, all right. You know something? I do an education forum segment on Thursday mornings on this station, and I was actually talking to a lady a little bit about educating teachers and, getting them ready for the world of education with licensure and student teaching in the area and everything. Now, I used to be in education before I got back into radio, and, I've been around it. I saw some problems with the whole thing, but I mean, overall, I don't know that our education system is necessarily in the tank all around. I think that we do have some good parts of it, but I guess that what you're saying is there's too much authoritarianism in the classroom. Is that right?
Well, I think there is in the system, and I think that 90% of what's good that happens in education is when you have really strong, committed, knowledgeable, empathetic, resourceful teachers. And a lot of the debate, the dialogue is about issues, should we favor public schools, parochial schools, private schools, charters, vouchers? And there's been a lot of research in that regard, and it strikes me that most of that is inconclusive. The one thing that makes sense, and it's common sense from our own experiences in school, we knew who the good teachers were, and we knew who the bad ones were. And I think we need to focus more on what are the characteristics of those people who really excited us as students, and who can do that now. And I think that the top-down approach that we have to education now is, in many ways, putting restraints on teachers who have tremendous ability but have to follow state or federal mandated guidelines.
Okay, I would kind of agree with that a lot, but something, I've been a teacher and I've also been a student, but when I was a student, I really didn't have any teacher that made me excited. I just kind of went there and I studied whatever was presented to me. I got my grades, and whatever I happened to remember, I happen to remember coming out. Now, you talked about having teachers that keep students excited in the classroom. I don't know that students are necessarily excited by teachers. I mean, most of them don't enjoy going to school. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and I think we have to, look at that straight in the face. And one of the things I talk about in the book is kind of the twin problems of what I would call to be amnesia and adultery, and not the adultery that you're thinking of. Amnesia being that so many adults, particularly those in education, just forget how bored out of their skulls they were in so many classes. And, I find boredom to be the number one obstacle that we need to face in education. When it comes to adultery, it's somewhat similar to what I was saying, that people, adults go into a mode where they're acting in a very proper and official way, and again, distancing themselves from the, where students were in school, who were looking for spontaneity, anything that would be different, and that could excite them, and hopefully what could excite them would be something that would be educational as well.
Okay, and of course, you've mentioned your book. It's called Standardized Testing, Moving America to the Right, where now from what I understand about this, having read about it, I haven't actually read it itself, but I guess that what you're trying to get at is that right-wing authoritarian approaches are being taken to education, and that's producing millions of oppressed, discouraged, and despondent students who lack critical thinking skills and imagination. Am I correct about that? And can you give us like an example of what's going on in our schools?
Well, I don't think he could have said it better. I mean, I think that's precisely what's going on, and I think that one of the things that we need more of in education is empathy on the part of teachers, and a sense of how important each student is, and empathy is something that is generally more considered to be part of a progressive agenda rather than a right-wing agenda. I just think that we need to recognize that the more that we expect students to follow authority and not have the option of questioning authority, then we're more likely to get students who are very uptight and often rebellious and really in many ways at risk.
Okay, well, I would agree with that you can't have entirely too much authoritarianism, but like I said, I used to be a teacher. Now, is this going on in high schools then? Because I used to teach out at a community college. I mean, I didn't happen to see a whole lot of this. Maybe it just wasn't in my classroom.
Well, I'm not sure about that, and I'll be speaking at a community college on Monday, and looking forward to presenting and talking to students about that. But I really do feel, certainly at the high school and the middle school levels, that we do have this rigidity. And then just one other way in terms of trying to tie it in with politically what's happening, I think that kind of the top-down approach is one that has been a restraint on civil rights, on protecting the environment, on making sure that we've got economic fairness. And I think that if students are able to just experience the world, get out, field trips, and get a sense of, what is it that excites me, what is it that seems fair, that I think we'll have a more healthily educated group of students.
Okay, so the students then are not going on field trips.
That's a big thing. I mean, our organization runs a program in the summer which we call Urban Go Team, and we have just a week full of field trips. And for instance, this past summer we did the Many Faces of Capitalism in St. Louis. So we met with large business owners, small business owners, women business owners, minority business owners, labor union officials, consumer advocates. You can't do that unless you get out of the classroom. Okay,
but now I used to teach Spanish, all right? I used to teach foreign languages, and from what I remember teaching, there was always some kind of a trip that students could take to Spain or to Mexico. I've seen other study abroad trips even at the high school level. So I mean, I'm really not seeing this where schools are not permitting students to get out and study and go on such field trips or study abroad programs.
Well, I think you're right. I think there are study abroad programs, and I think they are of tremendous benefit to a lot of people. But I think, if you take science courses, if you're studying biology, how far can you go if you're, and especially in a place such as Minnesota where it's so gorgeous and there's so many resources. Why wouldn't you want to have students have maximum opportunities to get out and apply the theories that they're learning in the classroom in the outdoor where nature is really flourishing?
Well, and you're right, but once again, I'm not seeing where this isn't happening, because right here in Worthington, as a matter of fact, we just opened up a new bioscience center so that students who may be studying the fields of biosciences can get hands-on experience in what they are studying. So, I mean, once again, I'm just not seeing this that you're describing, that we're not allowing our students to learn.
Well, I'd say, as with any interview, hopefully it's a learning experience for everybody, and more power to you. If there are these sorts of opportunities for students in Worthington, so much the better. I should come up and visit. I think in St. Louis and in a number of older Rust Belt, medium-sized cities, it's just very restrained, very constrained, and teachers are feeling under so much pressure. We're going to be judged by the standardized tests. We can't afford to take a moment away from preparing the students for the test, and you don't have the sort of spontaneity in curriculum that teachers used to bring to it. But it sounds to me as if, in Worthington, either there aren't those requirements, or the teachers are and the local officials are just saying, you know what, the well-being of our kids are more important than any restrictions that the state or federal government is putting on us.
Okay, well, it's not just in Worthington. I mean, when I talked about teaching, I used to teach in central Nebraska, so I'm seeing this in several different places, but I guess you're seeing something totally different in the old Rust Belt cities. Well, why is it then that education is so different in these Rust Belt cities like St. Louis that you're talking about than in Worthington, Minnesota, or in Hastings, Nebraska?
I think to a large extent it's a factor of money, that money that school districts get, money that the salaries that teachers make to a large extent is determined by how their students do on standardized tests. And so, among other things, you have this very unpleasant phenomena of teachers changing students' answers to standardized tests in order to make themselves, the teachers, look better, to make the school look better, to make the district look better. And there have been tremendous problems with that in New York City, in San Diego, in Miami, and I think it pretty well stands to reason that if you put severe burdens upon teachers, and they're feeling a lot of pressure, and what's best for the students is somewhere third, fourth, 10th on the priority list, you're not going to have a healthy environment.
Okay, so I guess what you're saying then is that government should kind of get out of the way and just let the teachers teach.
I like, I like government, as a progressive. I mean, I think in terms of providing a safety net is very important. But, I think teaching is the one field where I think in so many ways you come in prepared before you've taken a single course in college. When you've gone through high school, you've had 12,000 hours as a student. You've observed that. If you want to be a physicist, you haven't had 12,000 hours as a physicist. If you want to fly airplanes, you haven't been doing that for 12,000 hours. And I think we all leave high school with a sense of, I'd really like to be like Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, and, perish the thought that I'd be like this other person. And so I think we bring an enormous amount of preparation, but there's an industry involved in trying to prepare students, and I think in a lot of ways, prepare teachers, and I think in a lot of ways it just takes their innate basic common sense out of them.
All right, and once again, my guest is Arthur Lieber, author of the book Standardized Testing, Moving America to the Right. Now, Art, I'm going to leave you with one thought here. Now, you said that some of the problems then that are in the St. Louis and other Rust Belt school districts that we don't have in Worthington or in Hastings, Nebraska is because of too much government intervention, and that the government essentially should let the teachers teach instead of getting in the way. Well, I'll leave you with one thought here. You say that what's going on to prevent the teachers from teaching is America leading too much to the quote-unquote authoritarian right, but what you just described to me as the solution kind of sounds like something that a Tea Party person would say.
Well, they might say that about education, but I think I perish the thought that I'm really anyway associated with the Tea Party, because I do believe that government has a vital role in our whole society. It's what in so many ways can preserve a culture. It's what educates a population. It's what ensures when it's working properly that an economy is moving smoothly, that people have jobs. If they have jobs, they have better family lives. So that's a tremendous separation between where I am and where the Tea Party is. But, I think a lot of times we deal with labels, and so be it. If people in the Tea Party are skeptical of the role of education, of government in education, I'll be with them on that.
All right. Well, once again, Arthur Lieber. Art, it was great to have you on, and go Cardinals.
Jim, I agree. Thank you. And by the way, the book, it's the first it was standardized testing. It's now standardized education, moving America to the right.
Okay. All right. We'll have more in the booth right after this.